Do you like girls?
Of course. But do we have time?
From his earliest movie appearances, Tab Hunter captivated audiences as the quintessential heartthrob who seemed to have every woman swooning. Leaning effortlessly against a farm fence or donning a crisp naval uniform, he appeared to embody the all-American dream, never mind that most fans had no clue what was happening behind the scenes. Whether he was saving the day in a Western, belting out a romantic tune, or flashing that million-dollar smile at a red carpet premiere, he radiated star power that instantly drew attention. Yet beneath this glittering image, a far more complicated story was unfolding, one filled with hidden burdens, dramatic showdowns, and surprising twists nobody saw coming. For a while, it felt like every studio was desperate to cast him as the macho lead or the dashing partner any Hollywood actress would scramble to play against. In a few short years, he managed to steal hearts on screen and dominate teen magazine covers off screen, pushing the idea that he was the perfect boyfriend every girl hoped for. The major publicity machines only intensified that notion, printing story after story of romances that either never happened or were embellished just enough to make headlines. It's no surprise that many viewers simply accepted the storyline that Tab Hunter was born for straight arrow hero roles, someone who might leap from the saddle right into his sweetheart's arms. Long before he perfected that lady killer image, life was anything but glamorous. He was born Arthur Gellion in 1931 to a father who abandoned the family and a mother left scrambling for ways to earn enough for two children. From an early age, he avoided the spotlight. In fact, he hated it. Classmates teased him for being shy, and crowds made him anxious. But while searching for purpose, he stumbled into his lifelong love of horses, spending hours mucking stalls and shoveling manure to earn riding time at local stables. It was during one of those messy days that fate arrived in the form of actor Dick Clayton, who spotted Arthur's striking face hidden under dusty overalls. Despite Arthur's skepticism about any showbiz future, Clayton convinced him to audition for an agent named Henry Wilson. In a swanky restaurant, Henry took one look at the polite but timid kid and announced that a new name was in order, one that felt punchy and bold. He brainstormed Tab, then borrowed Hunter from Arthur's favorite type of horse, sealing the transformation from unknown stable hand to would-be matinee idol. It was a jarring shift for a teenage boy who had never even thought about acting. At first, Tab brushed off the idea that he could achieve real success, but that changed after he pocketed a hefty paycheck for a single day's work on a minor film. Suddenly, acting felt like a realistic way to support both himself and his mother, while also enjoying his beloved horses. Heartthrob, status, and studio control. The public's fascination ignited when he landed a breakout role in a war drama, followed by more shirtless soldier parts that showcased his physique. Seemingly overnight, he was receiving mountains of fan mail from starstruck young women. Studios seized the moment, arranging countless magazine covers and rumored romances with popular starlets like Debbie Reynolds and Natalie Wood. The fantasy was perfect. America adored the wholesome image of a rugged, clean-cut heartthrob who could sing a tender ballad and still tough it out on a battlefield. Warner Brothers soon scooped him up with a long contract, offering not just steady work, but also a kind of protection. Still, being America's hunky sweetheart came at a steep personal cost. The 1950s were known for punishing anyone who didn't fall in line with society's exacting standards, and he was well aware that his genuine interests lay elsewhere. While reporters pestered him about which lucky actress would be on his arm next, he wrestled with a secret that might have ruined everything if it leaked to the public. The weight of maintaining that glossy, womanizing image never quite let up, and studio executives made sure to keep him in check through image coaches and orchestrated dates. The double life and rising tensions.
Hello, I'm Tab Hunter, and I've got a secret.
no matter how many swirl skirts or glitzy red carpet events the studio paraded him through. Tab was sneaking around with partners he had to keep hidden. He was careful. He had to be. Society's stance on homosexuality was brutal. Arrests, ruined careers, and even forced medical treatments for those who were found out. As much as he resented the fake stories planted in gossip columns, it felt safer to play along. When he secretly dated figure skater Ronnie Robertson, he paid expenses to help Ronnie's career. He also had a stormy 2-year love affair with actor Anthony Perkins. Each relationship demanded an exhausting level of caution, separate entries at movie theaters, separate vehicles, and carefully timed arrivals at events. A single slip could lead to disaster. As if living in constant fear wasn't draining enough, his mother suffered a severe mental health crisis that forced her into institutional care, where invasive treatments exacerbated her pain. Though his career was thriving, he felt powerless watching her struggle. The determination to cover her medical bills and make sure she never worked again forced him to accept the elaborate public deception about his life. That heartbreak, along with continuous anxieties about being exposed, was taking its toll even as the nation remained enchanted with the dashing star they saw on movie posters. Henry Wilson, the agent who had once promised Tab the moon, was far from trustworthy. After their professional split, Wilson decided to get even, feeding the scandal-hungry Confidential magazine a juicy tip about Tab's past arrest at a private party. In the 1950s, being caught in the presence of gay men was headline gold for tabloids and personal poison for any star. When the scandal erupted, it threatened to shred the carefully curated image that Warner Brothers had spent a fortune building. With alarming speed, gossip rags piled on, printing half-truths and sensational headlines. The star was terrified, convinced he would be finished the moment fans believed the rumors. Yet the studio's publicity powerhouse sprang to his defense, painting him as a devoted son who spent every spare moment with his mother and was simply too busy filming to be tied down. They flooded the market with photos of Tab at events alongside glamorous women, overshadowing the confidential article that tried to expose him. Those campaigns worked, at least for a while, and he remained the man every teenage girl still wanted to pin to her bedroom wall. Eventually, Tab bristled under Jack Warner's iron grip. Apart from controlling film contracts, the studio boss insisted that all aspects of his career belonged to the company, including any music deals. After Tab scored a surprise hit single that briefly knocked Elvis from the charts, Warner Brothers forced him to pause recording until they launched Warner Records specifically for him. Worse, they pushed him into appearances on TV programs, something many film actors at the time avoided for fear of looking washed up. Drained by the endless orchestrations, he asked Jack Warner to release him from his contract and was met with a hefty price tag, $100,000. After paying to buy out the contract, an enormous sum in the late 1950s, he had to hustle for roles to pay off the debt. Promising parts slipped through his fingers, going to newer faces like Troy Donahue or Richard Batemer. He discovered that being an independent star without Warner's backing meant he was now fair game for tabloids, local gossips, and manipulative ex-partners who tried to blackmail him. Isolation and personal crises. After retreating to a farm in Virginia, he lived a quieter life focused on horses, but his troubles didn't vanish. Key relationships ended bitterly, and in one heart-wrenching phone call, he learned his brother had died in Vietnam, a seismic loss for a man whose brother had always been his protector in their younger years. Meanwhile, the press ran mocking headlines every time he took small-time dinner theater jobs or bit parts in campy projects. Some tabloids gleefully called him washed up and ran bogus stories suggesting he'd lost his mind or become dangerous. He endured relentless neighbor disputes, lawsuits about supposed abuse of his animals, accusations that proved baseless but devoured energy and money. In a stark contrast to the unstoppable heartthrob of the 1950s, the reality was constant legal threats, smear campaigns, and financial strain. Just when it seemed his career's best days were a distant memory, an unlikely savior emerged. John Waters, famed for raucous, midnight cult hits like Pink Flamingos, phoned Tab and asked if he'd star in his new film Polyester. The offer was peculiar. Waters planned to co-star the wholesome ex-heartthrob with outrageous drag icon Divine, complete with scratch and sniff odorama cards for the audience. Almost everyone he consulted said it would be professional suicide. Yet in a moment of either madness or clarity, Tab accepted. Filming in a no-frills environment with a cast of unconventional talents turned out to be a shockingly enjoyable experience. Despite minimal pay, no fancy trailers, and pizza for dinner on set, he felt a camaraderie that evoked fond memories from his earliest days in Hollywood. When Polyester premiered, critics who'd ignored him for years suddenly showered praise on his offbeat comedic timing. Younger viewers discovering him for the first time couldn't believe that the charming man on screen had been a square-jawed idol for their parents or grandparents. Invigorated by this unexpected wave of acceptance, Tab dove into more lighthearted roles, including cameos alongside campy puppets and a memorable part in Grease 2. When he pitched an old idea for a comedic Western parody, Lust in the Dust, he found an enthusiastic ally in producer Alan Glaser. Their professional collaboration turned to romance, and for once, Tab felt free to embrace genuine love without going to ridiculous lengths to hide it. Together, they secured funding, cast Divine again, and shot a wild Western that became an instant cult favorite. For the first time, he was no longer at the mercy of studio publicity mandates or controlling handlers. With Alan by his side, he made the projects he wanted, often focusing on his beloved horses and forging a down-to-earth life. That stability allowed him to look back and realize how much of his early career had been spent in hiding or in dread of scandal. Final reflection and legacy. Eventually, an unauthorized biography loomed, threatening yet another wave of twisted gossip. Instead of letting others define his story, he released his own memoir, Tab Hunter Confidential, which stripped away decades of half-truths. Rather than the perfect ladies' man, fans discovered a multifaceted individual who fought to maintain a veneer of normalcy in a punishing era. Though he passed away in 2018, his journey endures as a testament to resilience. Once the teen idol on every magazine rack, he transformed into a champion for authenticity later in life, embracing camp, forging new paths, and marrying the man he loved. Younger generations now discover Tab Hunter as a star whose charming smile once lit up screens nationwide, even as he battled private fears nobody back then could truly comprehend. That willingness to reclaim his narrative offers a lasting lesson. Sometimes, the most powerful reinvention comes from embracing exactly who you are, even if it takes a lifetime to do it.